Good morning. We'll start with session 4 on chapter Chemical Reactions and Equations. In our previous class, we understood the types of reaction. We understood what is combination reaction, what is decomposition reaction and displacement reaction. Under decomposition reaction, we understood the types of decomposition, that is when it is exposed to sunlight, that is called as photodecomposition. When it is exposed or when we pass electricity to decompose it, which is called as electrolytic decomposition, and when we provide or supply sufficient amount of heat, that is called as thermal decomposition. We move on to the next one, double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction are also known as precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction because it leaves some residue behind which are nothing but insoluble salts. So these precipitates are nothing but insoluble salts. So a reaction where two compounds react, that is there is a mutual exchange of ion taking place. Now what do you mean by mutual exchange of ions taking place? That means negative ions and positive ions interchange among themselves and form a complete new product or a new compound. Now in displacement reaction, what was happening? A higher reactive element was replacing a less reactive element, right? But there was no residue formed, but it was a metal or something would be left over or it would be deposited. So here whatever is formed, that is formed as a precipitate, which is nothing but a insoluble salt. So we call double displacement reaction also as a precipitation reaction. The example, barium chloride when reacts with sodium sulfate, we get barium sulfate and sodium chloride. Here barium sulfate, with respect to sodium sulfate here, barium sulfate is a precipitate. That means it is a insoluble salt. When we react now sodium hydroxide with HCl, we get sodium chloride and water. Here sodium chloride is a precipitate. Now you can ask me, why not here sodium chloride is a precipitate? Why the precipitate is here? Because when barium chloride, when we add sodium sulfate, we get barium sulfate and NaCl will not be a precipitate there, because all the salt and all the solvents or solute will not be soluble, right? Some are soluble only in certain solvent. That is because same things will happen here. So we form NaCl and H2O. So I put an arrow mark here. This arrow mark tells me that it is a precipitate, right? Now there we complete the 4 types of reaction: combination, decomposition, displacement and double displacement reaction. Now based on this or based on the energy released or energy absorbed, there are again 2 types of reactions. Types of reactions involving energy. That means in a reaction taking place, either the energy is liberated or the energy is absorbed. The first reaction is exothermic reaction. What do you mean by exo? Exo is something giving, right? Releasing. The reaction in which energy is released. That means when a chemical reaction will happen, either 2 things will take place. Either the reaction will require the energy, we have to supply external energy so that a chemical reaction can take place. Otherwise, a chemical reaction will take place and the product what is formed will supply enormous amount of energy, right? Exothermic reaction, a reaction in which energy is released. That means when a reaction is happening at the end or the end product or the byproduct, enormous amount of heat and energy is released. Respiration is said to be an exothermic reaction. Why respiration? Digestion of food is also said to be an exothermic reaction. Why? What happens in respiration process? If you can recall life processes chapter where we have done this, glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen. If you again remember cellular respiration, what actually happens there? The food, that is nothing but glucose, is broken down in presence of oxygen in cell, correct? Which gives out carbon dioxide, water and energy. This energy is stored in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which we can use it in for our various life processes activities, right? So breaking down of glucose in presence of oxygen, that means digestion of food, all this will come under exothermic reaction. We are releasing energy when the reaction is taking place. Endothermic reaction, absorbing energy, that means a chemical reaction to happen, some external energy should be provided to it. The reaction in which energy is supplied. Now that means I have written here all decomposition reaction. Of course, yes. See, decomposition reaction, first one was thermal. For thermal reaction or thermal decomposition to happen, we have to provide heat to it, temperature to it or pressure, external thing. Heat is required. Only then the given substance will decompose and form into smaller, simpler substances. Photo decomposition. It is exposed to sunlight. That means we are giving sun's energy to it so that the given compound is broken down to smaller molecules. Correct? Electrolytic decomposition. The given compound is exposed or subjected to electricity. When we pass electricity, only then it is broken down to hydrogen and oxygen. That means we are providing energy for a substance to decompose. That is why all decomposition reactions will come under endothermic reaction. Now, the reaction in which energy is supplied is said to be endothermic. Example, photosynthesis. Why? Now, how photosynthesis process is carried out? In the presence of sunlight. So, respiration is a complete opposite of photosynthesis. This is the equation of photosynthesis, what I have written. We have studied equation of photosynthesis in life processes chapter. So, this is an example of endothermic reaction. So, these are the types of reaction involving energy. So, next we move on to a small experiment which comes under electrolytic decomposition. We discussed yesterday. It was about how a water, when we pass electricity to water, it decomposes to hydrogen and oxygen. That means when we pass electricity in the water, hydrogen gas and oxygen gas are liberated separately. How is that done? We'll see that with a small experiment. So, this is the experiment of electrolysis of water, that is electrolytic decomposition of water, which we studied under decomposition reaction yesterday. So, what was actually we studied? So, water gets, on passing electricity, right, it decomposes to hydrogen and oxygen. So, this is 2 and this is 2, balanced. How is this done? So, we take a beaker, we make 2 holes in a beaker and insert 2 carbon electrodes. So, these what black you can see, these are carbon electrodes. Then invert 2 test tubes on the carbon electrodes. Connect the ends of the carbon electrodes to a 6-volt battery. Now, so one terminal is negative and one terminal is positive. Positive terminal is called as anode terminal and negative terminal is called as a cathode terminal, right? Those are nothing but the ends of the terminals of the carbon electrode. Now, fill the beaker with water. Why water? Because we are doing electrolysis of water. We have to separate the components of water. So, what happens is, once we invert the test tube, for example, I'll just show it in a bigger way here. Now, these are the 2 test tubes, right? And these are electrodes present in them. So, once electricity is passed through the test tubes, since there are water here, you can see small water bubbles rising, right? Very small water bubbles rising, what you can see from both the electrodes in the test tube. Then at one point we come to a conclusion that in one test tube oxygen gas is collected, and in the another test tube hydrogen gas is collected. Now how do we know that which is hydrogen and which is oxygen? Now because it is difficult to understand the quantity of gas in the given test tube first of all. So how to understand the presence of those gases is, always whenever these gases are collected there are certain tests. Now we know that oxygen is a supporter of combustion, right? So what we do, we take a burning matchstick or we take a incense stick, or better it's a candle. We take near the test tubes actually. So when we take it near the test tube, when we take it, we didn't know whether this is oxygen or this is hydrogen. Assume that this is hydrogen and this is oxygen. So I take the burning matchstick or a candle here. So since oxygen is a supporter of combustion, there will be no change. When I bring it to the another test tube, suddenly there is a pop sound. Now what is a pop sound? So basically when you strike it cannot say a strike a matchstick, simple. Now this sound what I make, it's not exactly a pop sound, but that type of a sound you get as a pop sound. So we get a pop sound. Pop sound is an indication that the liberated gas is hydrogen gas, right? We have another test. How do you check the presence of hydrogen gas? I'll come to that later. So since if there is a pop sound there, we confirm that the liberated gas in this test tube is hydrogen, then this has to be oxygen. And apart from that, if you see also, the amount of gas collected in the test tube where oxygen it is lesser compared to hydrogen. Why? Now water, when we talk about, it has 2 parts of hydrogen and 1 part of oxygen, right? So amount of gas collected in the test tube, that is hydrogen gas, is double the amount of gas collected in the another test tube, that is oxygen. So always it is in the ratio 2:1, that is hydrogen is 2 and oxygen is 1, in the ratio of 2:1. Gas collected in hydrogen is double the gas collected in oxygen. Oxygen is collected in the oxygen is collected in the positive terminal and hydrogen is collected in the negative terminal. This is a small experiment to check how the water components of water gets separated by electrolysis method. This is electrolytic decomposition of water. Now another thing which I told you was the presence of hydrogen, right? There is another simple test called pop test. There can be a question asked in the exam, what is pop test? Or how do you check the presence of hydrogen in the given chemical reaction? So what we have to do is explain in the form that take zinc, react zinc with hydrochloric acid, or we can say take in a test tube, take hydrochloric acid and put few granules minute granules of zinc to it. When zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, what do we get? We get zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas is liberated, right? That means when I conduct this experiment, so assume that this is a test tube. I added few drops of hydrochloric acid, 1 or 2 small granules of zinc in it. Just shake it, allow it to settle down. Then take a burning candle, take it to the mouth of the test tube. Within few seconds you will hear a pop sound. So that gives us the presence of hydrogen in the given chemical reaction. So this is something called as a pop test. So here in today's class we completed the last reaction, that is double displacement reaction. We understood the reactions involving energy, that is when it releases energy and it can also absorb energy. So releasing energy is called as a exothermic reaction. Absorbing energy is called as a endothermic reaction. We also understood what is electrolytic decomposition of water through an experiment, electrolysis of water. We also understood how to test the presence of hydrogen in the given solution by a method called as a pop test. So in tomorrow's class, we'll study a new concept which is called as a reduction and oxidation. In turn, we call that as a redox reaction. So in today's class, if you have any doubt, you can call on the same day of the video set.